Welcome to the Independent Joe Show. Today, I'm going to talk a little bit about myself, who I am, where I came from, what I'm doing now, and why I decided to run for office, because that's what you want to know. Welcome to the second episode of the Independent Joe Show. I'm Joe Sweeney, and I'm running for the U.S. House of Representatives here in California's 10th Congressional District. I'm not running as a Republican, I'm not running as a Democrat, I'm running as a completely independent candidate. And in today's episode, I'm just going to talk a little bit about my background so you have an idea of who I am, where I came from, and why I'm running for office. I'm 42 years old, I live in Dublin, California, and I have a daughter who's about to turn 11. For the first part of my childhood, I grew up in the suburbs of Minneapolis and St. Paul. And then when I was in sixth grade, I moved up to a tiny little town in northern Minnesota called Longville. Don't be fooled by the name though, because the town is only a few blocks long and has a population of 156. Not 156,000, not 15,600, not even 1,560, 156 people. Growing up and going to school in a small town makes you very grounded. Most of the people up there spend a lot of time outdoors doing things like fishing, hunting, snowmobiling, four-wheeling. I spent a lot of time fishing off the bridge by my house and also out on our little 14-foot fishing boat out on the lake. And despite being such a small town, Longville does have a claim to fame. It's actually the turtle racing capital of the world. So every Wednesday afternoon during the summer, they close off Main Street, because in the middle of Main Street is painted an inner circle and an outer circle. And there are usually hundreds of people that join these races. So every heat has about 20 people. They go to the middle circle, and when the music starts, you let your turtle go, and the first turtle to make it to the outer circle wins. Then the winners of all of those preliminary races get together in the final match. And if you win that match, then you're officially the turtle racing champion of the world. And when I was 4 years old, I was actually the turtle racing champion of the world. After going to school in Longville, I then went to junior high and high school in a town about 30 miles away called Walker, Minnesota. And I was your typical quiet, nerdy kind of kid who did well in school. And the school, despite being very small, was known for having a really good speech team. And when I was in my 9th grade speech class, the teacher, who was also the head coach of Walker's speech team, told me that I should join the team. So the following year, in 10th grade, I joined the speech team in the category of extemporaneous speaking. And this is where my interest in politics and world and national events started, because the category required that you did a whole bunch of reading about a very broad range of topics, and you would have to clip out or rip out all of the newspaper articles or magazine articles that you read and file them into a bunch of different file folders by category, and then put those file folders into a giant crate that you would carry with you to the speech tournaments every weekend. And then you would, each round, draw from an envelope 3 different questions, and you would have to choose one of them to speak on. And then you would get a half hour to write and memorize a 6 or 7 minute speech, and then give it in front of the judge and your peers and hope that you didn't do anything terribly embarrassing like forget what you were going to say in the middle of your speech. And by the end of my senior year, I got good enough that I was the state speech champion in my category. After I graduated high school, I went to a small college in St. Paul, Minnesota called Hamline University. It was actually Minnesota's first university, started even before the University of Minnesota. And while I was there, I studied biology, chemistry, and math, got a major in biochemistry and a mathematics minor. And again, I did very well. So I ended up going to graduate school just down the road here at UC Berkeley in their chemistry program. And I got my master's degree. After that, and being exposed to the nice California weather, I wasn't really ready to go back to the freezing cold Minnesota winters and the hot and humid Minnesota summers and all the giant mosquitoes and all the things that you've heard. So I started a math and science tutoring business out here that I grew and had that for many years. In 2020, during COVID, tutoring and virtually every other business was no longer viable. So out of both necessity and opportunity, I started a COVID testing supply company. We didn't know how bad COVID was at the time. We just knew that we had no way to test because we didn't have the swabs or the test reagents that were needed in order to perform testing. So I worked very hard for many months to try to help fix gaps in the supply chain and get testing materials to labs, clinics, and hospitals. And I still have that business today, and we've expanded a little bit outside of COVID testing supplies. And for years, I was just content to continue living life, raising our daughter, running my business, traveling, doing the usual things. But after seeing how rapidly everything is deteriorating around us, I'm no longer willing to just sit idly by and watch everything that has been built in this country over the last 250 years just disappear. I'm not willing to let our country deteriorate to a place where my daughter, where our kids, where our grandkids are not going to have a good life. They don't deserve to live worse lives because we have a rotten political system that is ruining everything that we've just sat around and watched get worse over time and have done nothing about it. It's our responsibility to step in now and to fix it so that they have a chance. And that's why I'm running. I know that unless good people stand up to what's wrong, that nothing's going to get better. It's only going to continue to get worse. People think we're stuck with these two options, but we're not. And I've come up with a plan to take the two-party system offline, and I'm going to execute it. And it's my hope that before the election deadlines are up, which are coming up in the next month for most states and most races, that other people will see what I'm doing and will join their races, local, state, and federal, as an independent as well. And if you think that things aren't quite bad enough yet to be motivated to start doing something and to get into a race, just give it another year because things are getting exponentially worse. Just look at how far we've fallen over the past few years. This is why I'm in now, because I see what's coming and I'm going to make sure that when it arrives, I'm going to be in the arena and ready to fight. And I think this will be a Roger Bannister moment. Roger Bannister was the first person to run a mile in under 4 minutes. People didn't think it was possible for a human to run a mile in under 4 minutes until he did it in 1954 when he ran at 3:59. And then just 2 months later, he and another person in the same race both ran a mile in under 4 minutes. And now there have been thousands of people that have run a 4-minute mile. There have been high school kids that have run a 4-minute mile, and running a 4-minute mile is now a standard for professional runners. And the record is now 3 minutes and 43 seconds. Right now, there is zero independence in the House of Representatives, and it's been 33 years since a candidate was first elected to the U.S. House as an independent, and people don't think that an independent can win a race anymore. But we can, and I'm going to show that it can be done, and I'm hoping that this will ignite a nationwide movement because having an independent representative should be standard for your district. Honestly, what's better than having someone represent your district who doesn't have to check in with party leadership and with the party's big donors before they take a position on an issue? There's nothing better than having an independent candidate. We can make this happen in a few short election cycles, and if we do, I guarantee that the corruption will start to stop, that the billions of dollars of taxpayer money that is being wasted on things that don't help us and don't move our country forward will stop, and the bills that are being passed out of Washington and in our state legislatures will begin to put our country back on the right track. So that's a little bit about me, where I came from, what I've done, and why I'm in this race. So if you see me out and about in the district, and I should be pretty easy to identify, then come over and say hi and tell me what's important to you, because I will listen.